Welcome to Writers Are the Best Weirdos, the podcast starring me, Julia Roberts. I am a creativity coach, speaker, writer, and a weirdo. Aren't you? We're going to answer a lot of questions about pubbing and promoting and marketing your books, so stay tuned. Hi, everybody. I'm here today with Eva Lesko Natiello, who has kind of an incredible story to tell about self-published success. And I just want to share that with you. But before we visit with Eva, I'm going to just tell you a little bit about who she is. So, Eva Lesko Natiello is the New York Times and USA Today best-selling author of psychological thrillers, The Memory Box and Following You. Her self-published titles have sold hundreds of thousands of copies worldwide, including traditionally published translations and audio. She is a sought-after speaker, has appeared at book festivals, writers' conferences nationwide and online. As a former VP of Global Communications for Estee Lauder Inc., her decades-long career as a communications expert and marketing and branding expert, perfectly prepared her to coach authors on how to publish and market their books. So I'd like to welcome Eva to the podcast.
Hi.
Hi. It's exciting. I don't think I know somebody else who self-published and has sold so many copies that had gone onto the New York Times bestseller list. I mean, bestseller these days is so cheap, and because you can be an Amazon bestseller pretty much no matter what you put out, if you just kind of know the little tricks, right? So,
well, it's still. Oh, I think I know what you mean. I thought you meant at first like being an Amazon #1 or, or even top 20. But I think what you mean is
on debut, like that first 3 days
or within certain categories, certain niche categories.
Certain categories. Yes, that's true. You pick your list. That's what I mean. There's tricks to debuting at #1 and then you can claim that, but it's not anywhere near the same as being a New York Times bestseller or a USA Today bestseller. So tell us, just for starters, a little bit, when was Memory Box come out and when did Following You come out, and what kinds of things did you do to help them? Because you were on your own in the beginnings, right? They're both self-published?
They're both self-published, yes. Okay. And well, with the Memory Box, I have sold some ancillary rights. I've sold some translations. The audio is sold. But I still am I hold the ebook paperback rights to that and Following You. And, honestly, it's still shocking to me when I think about it 9 years later, that book. So my debut was 2014, it launched in 2014. And it was just a crazy set of circumstances. I could not find an agent for that book. I could not find a publisher for that book. All the stuff that you've heard a million times over and over again. And so I wasn't going to publish it. I thought, you know what, I don't want to self-publish this book. I wanted to.
The world has changed in relation to self-publishing, but in 2014, it probably still felt, I don't know, like a compromise.
Well, and the funny thing is, on the flip side of that coin, it was an incredible time to self-publish. So much has changed from then to now about, how to sell books, how to get them noticed. There were millions less books on Amazon, millions in 2014. Wow. So the competition was even different,
Yeah.
But well,
self-publishing has really exploded since then. This is like the early on the curve. Yeah. Was that
and not even one of the earliest, but still I was like, I'm not going to do this. And the thing that changed my mind was Gone Girl came out on the market, and a friend of mine, said to me, have you read this book? It reminds me of, she had read The Memory Box, she's a writer friend of mine. And so when I read Gone Girl, I said, oh my gosh, I do have an audience for this book. There are similarities. It's definitely the same genre. And so I decided, why would I also give up on me? Why would I be one of those?
That's such a sweet way of putting that. Yeah.
I mean, then whose fault is it, right? It's not the publishers and the agents that turned me down. It's my own. If I don't give it this last try.
What a great way of looking at that. What a great way of looking at that. Thank you. I love that. So you
And
brought it
I,
out, and how did it get to hundreds of thousands sold? I know it has to be quality, but plenty of quality books do not get that far. So tell
yeah,
me
I mean, well, I'll tell you something. So, I know you read in my bio, I'm a former PR and marketing and branding person. Well, I still do it now for books and authors, but I used to work in the cosmetics industry. So marketing and PR was not foreign to me at all. I know how to market something. I know how PR works. And I just thought to myself, and people were saying to me, if you already can embrace that part of the puzzle, then you shouldn't even be trying to publish it traditionally. You should, do the self-publishing route, and then you're going to be able to collect on all the goodies. So I did a ton
I'm
of
still
marketing.
shaking my head because I have a big marketing background too. And it took me years to go from having millions and minions, that kind of marketing and push marketing for a brand of American Express or Toys R Us, or dating myself, those kinds of, I worked for every brand there was, but that was push marketing and had lots of money behind it. And then to get to where you're self-marketing, which is all attraction and um, just very different messaging. It took me years to make that flip, but it sounds like you made that flip very naturally.
Yeah, I did. And I also have to remind authors all the time when, because now I consult with them and they want to repeat what I did. And of course I I do too, I want to repeat what I did. But and one of the things is, are you writing in a very commercial genre? You have to look at that first. You
Yeah.
cannot be writing about, the mating habits of South American caterpillars and think you're going to sell 23,000 copies of that book in a week, which is when I made the New York Times bestseller list, 23,000 books I sold in 1 week. That is a lot of books. But what happened at the onset when I first released it, it was the summer of 2014. Within about 2 months, it was the #1 book in the Amazon store.
Yeah, that's astonishing then.
It
Yeah.
was crazy. And then you can
We were just
imagine.
talking about that, how you could be #1 in a little list. Like I was #1 on reference at one point, and that's a pretty big list, but that's still a little list compared to the store, you know?
Yeah. And I
hmm
think a lot of it is a book club type of book. It's a
hmm
psychological thriller. It is a fast read, super fast. It
hmm
has a lot of twists and turns. It has an absolutely shocking ending that people need to talk about because you're sitting there in the last page and you cannot believe what you just read. And people want to talk about it. And so all of that helped, all of that
Yeah.
helped.
Uh-huh.
Um,
I love this self-awareness and that you're completely comfortable. So many people are not willing to harp their own book. And I just love that you're completely comfortable going, it's great. People love it. And the end will leave you stunned. I mean, I just think that's great. Go ahead
Well,
now.
those pieces I have heard over and over again. So it's not even me. The reason I can say that is I have attended over 200 in-person book clubs for my first book.
You are kind of known for your book clubs, definitely. Yeah.
And
So you've
that's
actually
part of the that's
you've actually traveled to be at a book club with whatever, 14 people?
yes. It was part of
hmm
my marketing plan. I mean, part of my marketing plan at the very beginning was grassroots efforts. And when you're an indie, you do not have a sales team. You do not have a distribution team. You don't have a marketing team. And
Right.
what these book clubs became for me was my sales team and my PR team. And
It's kind of
and
brilliant. Yeah. Because
that's how they function.
they're also buying the 14, and then each of them is going to recommend it, especially since it's got the power of shocking people. So it's going to be word of mouth from there. hmm
And
Cool.
having an author, this was kind of cool too, that I heard a lot, is most book clubs don't have an author at a meeting. They don't,
No.
right.
Yeah.
So
It's
it was
unheard
such
of.
a novelty for them, and when I would take a picture, put it on my Facebook, tag some people, they wanted to share it everywhere, right? Because they wanted to say, so think about it. They were my PR team, I'm telling you.
Right. Right.
They
So you
they
take a picture, you've got eight or 10 or 15 people to tag. It gets shared by at least those people, you know. Yeah, it's a very simple and great messaging. So that's great. Yeah. Yeah. I
It's
was
like
gonna
the Prel commercial, the tell two people and tell two people.
and
And
so
that's what
on and so
happened.
on.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
the friends of those people said, well, why can't we have an author at our book club? You know, that sounds like a great idea. People don't even think of that. And they would reach out. So it took on a life of its own where
Yeah,
I
you've
was
been to
stunned.
200.
Yeah.
200 is not small beans. So,
Well, then
and
I do virtual ones. Those were live. You know, I've done a slew of virtual ones.
so you do them in your own area for the most part?
Well, at the beginning, I was willing to, you know, really go, because I was so green at the beginning. It was my first book, and I couldn't believe people outside of my family were reading the book.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
You
Yeah.
know, yeah,
Hmm.
bought it. They bought it and read it. I just couldn't believe it. And they wanted to talk for 2 hours about something I created. I was there, you know, I was
Yeah,
there.
right.
Yeah. It was super indulgent, and I was really excited to do it. And that's something you know, I got to be honest with you, when I worked for Estee Lauder for all those years, I worked for a long time in cosmetics, and the founder, Mrs. Estee Lauder, when I first arrived working there, she was still
Hmm.
coming to the office. And
Hmm.
I'll never forget, and she was my marketing, you know, mentor. I've never met anyone who markets she was just an unbelievable force. And that was in 1950 when she launched her brand. But there are a lot of things that I learned from her that I used to launch my book in 2014.
Like what?
So
Like
this is
what?
one of them. This is one of
Hmm.
them. And so I reinterpreted and modernized some marketing principles I learned from her, and things that she did, strategies she did. And she was the first person and the first brand that started doing makeovers at the counter, okay, at the cosmetic counter in a department store. It hadn't been
Okay.
done before Estee Lauder. And her theory was, when you touch someone, when you touch them and you work with them one-on-one, you will have the customer forever. And I saw that happening, and it was via these book clubs. I saw it happening in real time. I was
I
in
see. Yeah, I can
someone's
see the
home.
link. Hmm.
I
Yeah,
was
I can
in
see the link.
someone's home, and
Hmm.
it was so personal. You know, it was so personal. We talked about, you know, what they read in my book and my process, and they heard about my not being able to get the book published, you know, and being
Hmm.
rejected 87 times. I got 87 rejections. And just to not give up and to do it on your own and to make it successful, it's such a story that people love to hear. And so I'm sitting in people's living rooms, and I swear to you, I'm still in touch with many of those women and
I
those
mean, I
books.
love to hear the story. That's why we're
Yeah.
not even on topic yet, because I just think it's a great. There are not that many books that sell out of, sell in those numbers when
Yeah.
starting from indie. When you think about it, I can think of The Martian. I can think of 50
Yes.
Shades of Grey. I can't think of much else that like really made publishers stand up and go, "What?" Hmm. So that's interesting. I mean, it's just amazing. It's
Yeah.
a great thing to have done. It's a great thing to have done with this corporate marketing strategy, but I think it's because it's A, makeup, and B, a woman, that a lot of her strategies made sense for you. Like Burger King strategies don't make sense for book marketing. It's just like other brands, but this brand is personal, is a woman behind it, more or less. And so I could see why those were translatable. And you translated them kind of brilliantly. Though the book club would not come to mind per se, but it is the makeover. It is the straight up sampling. Hmm.
Yeah. It's
Hmm.
listening to what people like to read and what interests them and what did they like about the book. And it's a dialogue, right? And that's so important, because when you're reading, you're all by yourself, right? And
Yeah.
so when you're reading a book that you need to talk about, and then you get to speak to the author and hear and ask questions and hear the process and where did this idea come from and what's your background. And so it was compelling to both of us, and
Hmm.
so they became really important to me, and they still are, you know. um it was a phenomenal, and it didn't hit a list until it was out for over a year. Actually, it didn't hit a list at the beginning.
What
So,
kind of, it must have hit an Amazon list.
well, it was the #1 book in the Kindle store on Amazon, like within the first 2 months. So yeah, but I didn't even count that. I didn't call myself a bestseller because I didn't regard that.
I
Back
totally
then.
understand that,
Yeah.
that little bit of snobbery that we all have. Like, my books have been bestsellers, but I don't call them that because I know there's a different kind of bestseller that I hold dear, that I
Yeah.
admire. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can totally understand that. Yeah. So, but that's not small either. #1 in Kindle within a few months.
No.
Like,
I mean,
even
I
if you
had,
want to discount that, it's not a discountable achievement. Right.
you
Mhm,
know, it's so funny. I wrote a blog post many years ago when that happened,
mhm.
when I realized I was apologizing for my book's success. Well, yeah, it hit the #1, but that's probably because, and I came up with all these reasons that sort of an apology. And then I had to grab hold of myself and I said, why are you doing that? Why are you saying this is the reason? It was probably because, I don't even remember what I was delegitimizing
I mean,
its
there's just
success.
no way that book continues to thrive if it's not a good book. There are tricks and there are ways and there are strategies and methods, but you have to start with a good book. There's just, and in this
Yeah,
case, a book that you want to talk about pushes that book club ability in a really strong way.
yeah.
Because people wake up and go, I want to talk about this. I want to, I gotta talk to somebody who won't consider it a spoiler, or
Yeah.
that kind of thing. Yeah. Mhm. So that's
Well,
cool.
it's kind of, I mean, it's a really wonderful thing to say that even after all this time, it sells like crazy. After
That's
9
great.
years, yeah. So I'm really proud of it and excited to well, find the, understand what I'd like to write to and go back at it. And so that's what I'm doing now. But also realizing that we were discussing before, when you have all this information and you just want to share it with people. And so now I do with authors, just to teach them how to look at, very, and it's something I know we're going to talk about things like, Goodreads, for instance. There's a way to increase visibility for your book. And in 2023, and you've got millions of books to compete with, that's something that should be at the top of your list, right? Increasing visibility. So
It has to be. And I think that's one of the things I hope a publisher will do for you, which is why I think that's one of the main reasons people still want a publisher. It's not because you'll make less per book. I think it's because they hope you'll,
right. Right. You sure that's
but,
not it?
but so they hope that'll come from the publisher's platform, and it can. I mean, any platform, if you can climb that scaffolding and get on that platform, you're doing pretty well. But there's other platforms now that we're allowed in without being picked, and that's like Goodreads, Amazon Author Page, any others that you can think of, any audience you can borrow. I had a friend who had a sort of Sex and the City kind of novel, and at the Sex and the City debuts, premieres in New York City, she went and just handed out chapters. So
Mm-hmm.
she had chapters printed up and handed them out to everybody in line. So, you can also just do grassroots kind of things like that. That is borrowing a platform. People, she knows that's a sorted audience, and she knows that, she can tell them it's something like this. If you like
Yes.
this, you'll like that. Yeah.
Well, that reminds
What
me.
other platforms can you imagine like borrowing that way?
Well, the thing is that these days, because I used to do, so I did, that reminds me of something I did with the Memory Box when it came out. And I really wanted to start this beach book campaign because
Uh-huh.
it's definitely a great, bring it to the beach kind of thing. And I found a TV production company that followed me on the beach as I combed the New Jersey shore. I live in New Jersey with my book and t-shirts. Me and a bunch of people had t-shirts. What's your beach book? What are you reading? And we made a big spectacle of ourselves, and we stopped at groups of women who were reading books, and I told them that the book had just been, published, and, I was giving them away, and I gave the book away up and down the New Jersey shore. But I made sure that I picked beaches that were connected, that had in their town a bookstore. And I made sure that I did PR in the local newspaper before I hit the beach. So I built up a little bit of
Credibility.
buzz, buzz before so people were kind of looking for me, if you will. And the bookstore.
And the Jersey Shore is very densely, like you're not walking a half mile between people. You know what I mean? There's plenty of people.
Right.
So,
oh, yes, tons on a Saturday, on a weekend. Yes, absolutely.
I'm from Jersey, but I'm out in LA now, so I know what you mean.
Yeah. And that was really fun, got me a lot of PR, gave me a nice little boost. But the thing is now you kind of have to think about, time is limited, right? And if you need to think about bang for your buck, and doing something like that, which took, more than 2 solid days, and even in the preparation and getting people involved, it took a while. So it was great for visibility. Does it move the needle as far as sales go? No, probably not. It did a lot for visibility. I've got clips I could use. I had paper, news media coverage and video coverage. But the thing is, borrowing a platform now, you're trying to think how I need to make sure it's as big a platform as I can borrow, like you're saying, how can you jump on somebody else's platform? And so
you do have to find, just even if you think of Facebook, Insta, Book Talk, those are all platforms that we're all borrowing for our book. Those are the obvious ones. Yeah. We need somebody who's aggregating people, because especially writers, we're sitting in our rooms.
Right.
Yeah. So we were going to talk about Goodreads a little bit, and I don't know how it factored into your book visibility or your book awareness, but I do know that anybody listening to this who's a writer needs to be using Goodreads in a good way. So I saw you, as you know, at the Irma Bombeck Writers Workshop, and you talked about Goodreads there. So that's kind of why I wanted to bring you in, aside from just the fantasy trip you've been on with this book, which is like every writer's dream, right? I want hundreds of thousands sold.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Goodreads was part of the visibility campaign that I did. And think about it. Yes, you're right. You could go on Facebook, Amazon, you could go on TikTok, but where else is it exclusively readers? Goodreads.
Right. You're not wasting. It's so specialized, right?
60 million, I think it's up to, global users of Goodreads. So it's important that authors are on there as authors. It's also important for authors to be on there as readers. And I'll explain a little bit about that, because it is kind of interesting how you could do things to increase your visibility on Goodreads. But the first thing you should absolutely make sure of is that your book, if you just published one, is on Goodreads. And in most cases, traditionally published books, even self-published books, are automatically added to Goodreads once they are on the Amazon platform for sale on Amazon. So even, I don't think in pre-sale, you have to manually put it on Goodreads.
And you can't, if you haven't already published something, you can't do pre-sale, like book reveals or whatever, unless you're already published, apparently, at Goodreads. But
there is.
The podcast will be back in less than a minute. Hey writers, are your creative juices running low? Are you skipping writing sessions because you're so busy, or because you're just tired? Well, there's an easy fix.
Really?
Try Mighty Write. Mighty Write gets you writing and keeps you writing. Ingredients include creativity, writing, coaching, community, and Zoom sessions. Side effects may include productivity, finished work, bragging, and stupid grins. Try Mighty Write. Seriously, click on the link for more info about the Mighty Writers Club. Be mighty! The Mighty Writers Club. Find us at go.decodingcreativity.com/mighty.
There is a way around that. And
cool.
Yeah, and you'd have to come up with a mock cover, and you get in touch with a Goodreads librarian, and you do that manually on the website, and you ask them to upload so it's a cover that looks like hasn't been revealed yet. It's not the real thing. And I did do that with one of mine because I wanted to get readers on, well, I wanted my book to appear on shelves, on readers' shelves,
Right.
So the first thing you do is you make sure that your book is there. The second thing, and then you make sure that all the information is correct. Sometimes they don't get the right description, so you double check that. And then you make sure that you as an author have claimed your author page on Goodreads.
Right.
Because the Goodreads author page has so much going on that you can utilize in lots of clever ways, and it's all free. I mean, mostly everything you do on Goodreads is free. There are only two things that are not free, and one is advertising on Goodreads, and the second thing is doing giveaways. And good giveaways, unfortunately, they used to be free, but a couple of years ago they changed that.
Okay.
But
are they valuable? Are they worth doing, in your opinion?
Giveaways
and advertising on Goodreads?
Well, I don't advertise on Goodreads. I don't think it's a platform. I wouldn't advertise there. And that's a part of a longer, different discussion,
It's just your expert experience.
Yeah.
That's why I ask. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you do giveaways? I think people do giveaways at launch, right?
You could do them at launch. You can do them whenever you want to kind of bump up your visibility on there and add your book to. So for instance, what I recommend, there are two levels of Goodreads giveaways, because you need to pay for them. There's the entry level, which I believe is like $119. And then there's one that's like 500 and something. And I recommend enthusiastically to do the lower priced one. And so this is the beauty of the giveaway. Anytime someone signs up for your giveaway and enters your giveaway, your book automatically appears on their shelf, on their to be read shelf.
Okay.
Every time that happens, so every person on Goodreads that adds your book to their to be read shelf, it appears on their feed in front of all of their Goodreads friends. So think about it. If you run a Goodreads giveaway and you get 7,000 people to sign up for your giveaway, and you could give away one book if you want, by the way. You could give away one signed paperback, or you could give up to, or any amount.
Or one per. I mean, you could do it on your free Amazon days, couldn't you? Or no? When you have a promotional Amazon day, like you have 5 days a quarter to give away, to have a zero cost ebook?
Well, no, because so you can't put that in your copy, like in the copy that when you're setting up your giveaway, they give you, I don't know how many characters it is. So you can't say in it free, available now on Amazon for free for 5 days. That would go against their policy. But I think what you're saying is you design it so that it's after the giveaway and you're
okay. But the giveaway, how am I providing ebooks for 7,000 people if it's not through Amazon?
Oh no, so this is the thing. You tell Goodreads how many you want to give away. It's up to you. Okay. You could do a paperback or you can do ebooks. I usually do paperbacks because more people enter those giveaways.
Okay.
And I like my numbers to be high. I like
everybody likes high numbers.
Yeah.
Except golfers, Yeah.
Exactly.
Shoppers.
So and paperbacks, people want the sign, and I always say it's going to be signed.
Right.
And and then you get tons more people entering, So there have been giveaways that I've given away one copy.
Okay. And how many people, just guessing?
7,000 people sign up. Thousands of people sign up, and I give away one, because also if you're giving it, if somebody wins and they're in Canada and you're paying customs, you have to factor in it's costing you something for the copy, for the postage and whatnot.
Sure.
If you do the e version and want to give up give away ebooks. You can give away up to 100, and Goodreads handles that. They handle that. So they give it away from your Amazon page.
I see. I keep forgetting they're co-owned, and so they have these sort of backdoor possibilities.
Yes.
So that's cool as can be then.
Yes.
I can't believe I haven't done a giveaway. I wonder how many people are listening to us right now going, I can't believe I haven't done a giveaway. Because we don't know. We either don't know about these things, or we're already overwhelmed and doing too much else. And we decided a podcast was worth our time.
Yeah, exactly. But it is a great idea for visibility, that book cover of yours, that thumbnail. If you can imagine it going through all of those all of those people.
Oh, I'm a convert. Yeah. It just keeps,
So
it's not unlike book club, but it's online, because what you're doing is you're taking the 15 avid people and they're telling, and so on and so on. In the same way you're going for in this case, 7,000 avid people. And that it does just keep doing, the ripple effect because of the feeds, because it's at the top of their, messaging, et cetera, et cetera. So the to be read shelf has that same impact, only larger.
And then you just I think about this all the time. How can I maximize what I'm doing here? This is taking time. It's taking effort. How do I leverage this to maximize it? So things like, obviously, when you're in giveaway, say you do it for 3 weeks, or depending on whatever window you decide, you also decide that how long you want to run it for. You announce it on your social pages with the link, obviously. The other thing that I do is when I pick the winner, and sometimes, say you're giving away 5 books or 3 books, I make this like little poster with the person's first name, and I have my book, picture on the poster and coming to you. And I put that on Twitter. I put that on, my blog or whatever, and just try and get as much visibility for the actual event. Just keep squeezing the lemons and trying to make more and more lemonade as much as you can. But so that's one of the things you can do on Goodreads, but there's so much you can do. I mean, you
was mentioning you can tie in your blog. You can sync in your blog.
Yes, you can
by
sync
using
to
the
your
RSS
author page. Yep. Which is great. So every time you have a new blog post on your website or a new announcement on your website, it goes straight to your Goodreads page. You can upload videos. I've got lots of videos on my page where some of them are book clubs, where I appear at a book club and maybe I'm talking about the book and I take a snippet and put it on there. And the reason for that is,
I'm dying. You're doing so much great stuff, and it's incremental, but it all accumulates. I can't keep making this gesture.
And the beauty of that is having your little talk, your 15 seconds, even if it's 15 seconds, and having it on your Goodreads page. This is what you are telling everyone. You're telling everyone it's a book club book, right?
Right.
Without saying it's a book club book, because they just saw you at a book club and they're like, oh, we've got to read it for our book club. Why didn't I think of that? So it's the power of suggestion, really, by doing these things, having these videos. I'm always for, listen, if somebody's giving you free real estate, Goodreads is giving you a free bookstore, practically, right?
Yeah, it's free window. You're like, you're going to go in there and dress the dummies. Yeah,
exactly. You've got to dress the dummies. Do not, like, I say, no tumbleweeds, do not let me see. I say to my clients all the time, if I go to your Goodreads page and I see tumbleweeds blowing through, I'm really going to be upset. Maximize that page. Have your bio really, you've got a lot of space there for a bio. Make sure after your bio is finished, you put all the links to your socials, put that on there. Make sure you have your newsletter sign up link on there.
I want to take notes. That's how bad.
Yes.
So I'm not going to stop and take notes because it's my podcast.
Yeah.
I can listen back, but that's a lot. That's a lot. Yeah.
Because think about it. If somebody is on your author page, what does that mean?
Well, they've heard of you. They have an inkling that they want to read something you've written. Somebody told them about you.
Or maybe they just finished your book
Ah,
They loved it. And they're like, what has this person done? I've never heard of this person before. Did she write anything else? I've got to get her other books. They go to your Goodreads author page. And now
mhm,
you've given them a billion ways to get in touch with you, links to your other books, videos
mhm.
they can watch, suggestions for your book club. Oh, this is one of my favorite things about Goodreads. You can turn on the what's called Ask the Author.
Okay.
It's like a button to your reader. It's a button they click on, and it allows your readers to ask you anything.
But
How
how
awesome.
do you get an email or something, or does, because
Yeah,
otherwise it would sit there forever potentially.
you get an
So you get
email.
an email notification. Okay, cool.
Yes. Get an email that you just got a new question from a reader and they're wondering what happened to Andy at the end of the book. Or these are the questions I get sometimes, which is so funny. How are the girls doing? I do get that question. How are the girls doing? I was first time I ever heard that, I was like, do they mean my kids? Because I have one girl and one boy, but they can't
Mhm.
mean my kids. They mean the characters from the book, as if they're
Sure.
still out there,
As if
like,
they've continued to age. Yeah.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
they're still playing soccer somewhere. I don't know. But so it's awesome to have that connection to your readers and be able to dialogue with them through
Ask
Goodreads.
the author. I love that. Uh-huh.
Mhm.
And you probably have about 8 questions that happen. So you probably could even do like a WordPress doc that answers those 8 questions. So you can cut and paste and personalize it a little. I
Sure.
imagine, yeah, because you probably get asked, where's the girls? Plus what happened to Andy, and then where'd you get this idea would be a big one.
Yes.
I always get
Yes.
that one. And you're like, I have an idea subscription, you know,
Yeah.
gives me new ideas every few minutes. Um,
The
but
idea of the month club is what
the
I
idea of the month
want.
club. So, I mean, okay. So, anything else you would say about Goodreads that we should be doing, or even book clubs? Because you are kind of Little Miss Book Club. You've really mastered that corner of the.
Well, as far as book clubs go, this is the question I get over and over from authors all the time. How do I get them? Okay.
Mhm.
And there is no secret, like, there's no website, there's no secret way to get a book club.
There's
But
no
what
matchmaking. Yeah.
I urge people to do is think grassroots again. Okay. Think about your own community. And seriously, if you can't be a rock star in your own community when you launch a book, you're going to have a tough time, in Portland, Oregon, if you're not from
Hmm.
Portland,
Hmm.
Oregon. So work your community first, and they want you to succeed. You are a rock star. You came out with a book and they want to talk you up. So go to your
It's an
neighbor.
inexpensive place to practice. You'll get better at things. You'll have footage if you take some videos or snapshots. So
Yes,
yes, all of that within 10 miles of your house is easy.
get the
Not
first
easy to
one.
do.
Get,
Not
get
easy
the
to do, but the right
yeah,
thing to do. Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
and maybe it will be easy to do. I mean,
Oh, I just mean that whole like, oh, I can't, just that resistance of
oh,
not so much. I mean, it depends on who you are, whether you love talking or love people, or whether these things make you feel icky or nervous or scared. So it could be not easy in that way.
I see.
But on
Mhm.
the other hand, it could just be like any party you're going to ever. Yeah. Like it's just fun. Hmm.
So I do want to address that, because that's an interesting thing too, is like when I teach marketing, and like I did at the Irma Bombeck workshop, and people say to me, I just can't do these things. I can't do the book club. I can't talk in front of a crowd. And so the wonderful thing is that there's so many marketing things you can do where you don't have to go in front of a bunch of people. And so, yeah, the book club thing is for people who like to be with people and like to chat about books and things like that. And that's what I meant by that part is easy. Like in your town, you'd go maybe to your library, you could go first and
Hmm.
say,
Yeah.
I'm an author and I live in this town, and if there are any book clubs that meet in the library, I'd love to offer coming to talk to the book club if they read my book. That could be a slam dunk right there, you know.
Uh-huh.
Or going to your own circle of friends and saying, can somebody invite me to a book club? And just get the one and put it up on your Facebook page and then see how they start to grow. You know, people will
Yeah.
reach out to you. But if you're not one of those people, then what you do is you go to your Goodreads page.
Yeah, we did cover both sides of that coin. And the truth is, you have to do things that you'll enjoy. You don't, there's no like one way to do it that you have to just gird your loins and do it. You
No,
really have to do, you have to bring the same creativity to marketing that you brought to your book, which people don't realize that it is really creative and fun as long as you're sticking to the venues that you can appreciate and enjoy doing. So,
sure.
I mean, yeah, so that's the thing that I find is that people don't realize it can be fun and creative. It's not always icky and, pushy and, you know.
But it is a certain type of person who will do the, the interaction part, or the face-to-face, I should say, because through Goodreads or through your own website, you can still talk to your readers, but it's, via email messaging or what
I
have
think
you.
writers are sort of half and half. Like some really are introverts. That's why they might be writers, and some are just not. And you just still have to pick the path that you can thrive in.
Totally.
Yeah. Mhm.
Absolutely.
Cool. I love this. I learned a lot myself. I'm so glad that you were able to come and be in our little writers club.
Awesome.
And I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I really feel like squeezing the lemon is like what you do exceedingly well. Like people dabble, but they don't just go in there and keep, what can I do to make this easier, make this
Yeah,
more impactful, make this, whatever. That's I think to me the walk away message. Just if you're going to do something, make sure you're getting everything you can out of it. So
absolutely.
yeah, that's cool. Anyway, thank you so much for being with us.
Well, thanks for having me. This was fun.
Oh, really fun. Yeah. Hey, thanks for listening. If you liked it, please subscribe and tell your friends. What did you learn today? What was your takeaway? What are you going to do today? Put it in the comments. We all want to know. Meanwhile, get my book, Write Without the Fight. You want to master your creative process so you can write with more ease and satisfaction. The links are all in the description box. Join us, because writers are the best weirdos.